first flight in a hot air balloon at the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta. Its 39th year. Woo!
Yeah!
Way back in 1783, there were these brothers, Joseph and Etienne Montgolfier, in France, and they worked at a paper factory, and they saw all these bits of paper floating up around the factory, and they said, wow, that's really cool, we should do that too. So they started to do a lot of experiments, and they would get silk purses, paper bags, ladies' underwear, whatever they could get, a lot of big black belts and smoke under these things to get them to go up, because they didn't realize yet it was the heat from the smoke that made them go up. They get all the smoke under there, and they did their experiments, and they thought, well, we're about ready to go. But what if we can't breathe up there? What if this doesn't work? We should send some farm animals first. So the first animal into the air was a duck! Quack! Quack, quack, quack! And so, joining the duck, we had a sheep and a rooster. So
Japanese coffee cocoa.
So off these three farm animals fly off into the French countryside, and the animals did survive, but in the end, the sheep kicked the duck. It was the first quack-up in aviation history. So they kept on doing their experiments, and they thought, maybe man's about ready to fly. And they said, well, what if this really doesn't work? Maybe we should put some prisoners in there. They're kind of expendable. But King Louis XVI was watching this project very closely. He's very excited. He said, no, 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 we don't want prisoners. We want the honor and the glory, the first men into the air to go to the scientists and noblemen that have worked very hard on this experiment. But now the Montgolfier brothers had already promised their parents they'd never fly in their own balloons. So the other two gentlemen that were helping, the first pilot, his name was Pilote de Rosier. And from his name, Pilote, is where we all get our names today as pilots. It all started with ballooning. Yay! And the Marquis d'Arlon. So, to much fanfare partying, big tailgate parties, the Place de Concorde near Paris, France. Now, in November of 1783, man had his first flight. A balloon similar about what the size you flew in today, but they didn't have all the modern tanks and hoses and burners. They were throwing in linen and straw and cow dung, Firestone tires, whatever they could find to get a lot of big black belts and smoke under these things.
Not Steeler tires.
So they cut the rope, and off these two fly off into the French countryside. Now nobody thinks to warn the peasants and the farmers what's happening, and they're very frightened. They see this big black belching thing falling down from the sky, and they're sure it's from the devil. So they ran out into the field with their pitchforks, and they killed the balloon. Wow, that's pretty bad. If we're going to have to build a new balloon every time we want to fly. So King Louis XVI, still watching this project very closely, he's so excited. He said, well, we don't want to have to go through that every time. You should take a bottle of your finest vintage champagne with you. So as they're flying off from the city to the country, they jump out of the balloon, bend down, cross themselves, presenting a bottle of their finest cooked champagne.
Champagne.
Where? Thus proving indeed that they were fellow Christians and countrymen, and they were from the earth and not from the devil. And that began the tradition of drinking champagne with ballooning. Now, where we landed today, way out in southwest Albuquerque, there were no pitchforks.
Sorry.
Did y'all have good landings? No pitchforks, bad?
No.
Everything was all right? Well, then we have to drink the champagne ourselves. So, along across the English Channel, the Irish are watching the French drinking first thing in the morning. They become very excited because nobody outdrinks the Irish, except the Australians. Woo! So, the Irish want to join, and the French said, you can join our sport if you contribute something to it. So, along comes this wandering minstrel by the name of Malachi Pogmahone, and he writes this little story poem prayer sort of thing. And we've incorporated that to be our modern-day balloonist prayer, and we are going to say that prayer for you in a few minutes. And so, ballooning pretty much died out over the years. And it wasn't, you know, they did like gas ballooning, some surveillance, world wars and stuff like that. But it wasn't until the late 60s, early 1970s that the Americans got involved and said, you know what, that does look like a fun sport. So what the Americans, what the Americans brought to it was our modern day propane burner system. And we've come a long way since then even. And so ballooning has taken off since then. Excuse my pun. So anyway, thank you, ma'am. So back in 1972, Albuquerque celebrated its first Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta, 13 balloons down in Coronado Mall. And what else? And what came out of that was what we call the crew dexterity test, and we need for you to perform that for us today. You did a fabulous job. We really appreciate it, but we want to make sure you're going to do just as well the next time you come out and help Miss Debbie. So we're going to say the prayer for you, and then you're going to bend down and drink your champagne.
No hands.
Only the crew dexterity test is you can't use your hands. And we suggest you drink it from the front of your cup, because if you drink it from the back or you spill it, we call that alcohol abuse, and that's a very serious problem here in New Mexico.
Or apple juice abuse.
So we don't want to have any alcohol or apple juice abuse here. So you can use your hands to steady yourself on the ground, but you just can't use them to pick up your cup, and you can do a paper cup.
And don't spill any.
Like this.
Yeah,
pretty easy. Okay, hold on. Wait till we say our prayer. The prayer goes like this.
Hats off, hats off, hats off.
High five, solemn occasion.
The winds have welcomed you with softness. The sun has blessed you with his warm hands. You have flown so high and so well that God has joined you in laughter and carried you gently back into the loving arms of Mother Earth and the crew!
Hey, are you still drinking? Come on, man.
No spilling!
No spilling.
Drink it!